The Galactic Council had stood unchallenged for 3,000 years. From their crystalline citadel orbiting the binary stars of Zelther, they governed 200 civilizations spanning 47 systems. Their fleets numbered in the millions, their technology was unmatched, and their arrogance was absolute. They had heard whispers of Earth, a small blue world in a forgotten arm of the galaxy, populated by a species that had barely mastered interstellar travel. The humans, as they called themselves, were primitive creatures who had only recently discovered the quantum fold drives that made faster-than-light travel possible. The Council had dismissed them as inconsequential. Another backwater civilization that would eventually bow before their supremacy or be crushed beneath it. Commander Emma Reeves stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, humanity's first true warship, and watched the stars streak past in ribbons of light. Her fingers drummed against the armrest of her command chair, a nervous habit she'd never quite managed to break despite 15 years of military service. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency around her officers monitoring their stations, holographic displays flickering with streams of data, and the soft thrum of the ship's revolutionary graviton engines providing a constant background rhythm. 3 minutes to the Zelther system. "Commander," announced Lieutenant Jackson Torres from the navigation console. His dark eyes reflected the blue glow of his displays as his fingers danced across the holographic interface. "All systems are nominal. Weapons platforms are charged and ready." Emma nodded, her jaw set with determination. "Good. Open a channel to Earth Command when we drop out of fold space. They'll want to know we made it in one piece." Jackson glanced back at her, concern etching lines across his forehead. "Ma'am, are you sure about this? The Council has 6 battle carriers in orbit around Zelther Prime. Our intelligence suggests each one is twice our size and carries enough firepower to glass a planet." "I'm aware of the odds, Lieutenant," Emma replied, her voice steady despite the ice forming in her stomach. "But we didn't come here to start a war. We came here to end one before it begins." 6 months ago, the Galactic Council had issued an ultimatum to Earth: submit to their authority, pay tribute, and accept military occupation or face annihilation. They had given humanity 1 standard galactic year to comply. Earth's response had been to accelerate the Indomitable project, pouring every resource into creating a ship that could make the Council think twice about their threats. The result was the vessel Emma now commanded, a sleek, deadly predator of a ship measuring just over 2 kilometers from bow to stern. Unlike the Council's massive, lumbering battle carriers with their ornate designs and excessive bulk, the Indomitable had been built for one purpose: war. Her hull was composed of metamaterial armor that could redistribute kinetic energy across its entire surface. Her weapon systems incorporated technology that Earth scientists had only theorized about a decade ago: plasma lance cannons, quantum disruption torpedoes, an experimental graviton beam, projectors that could tear ships apart at the molecular level. But it wasn't just the hardware that made the Indomitable special. It was her crew, 500 of Earth's best and brightest volunteers all, who knew they were flying into a situation that could end with humanity's extinction or its salvation. "Fold space collapse in 60 seconds, Jackson announced, his voice cutting through Emma's thoughts. She straightened in her chair, pulling down the hem of her dark blue uniform jacket. "All hands battle stations. This is not a drill. Weapons, prepare to engage defensive protocols on my mark. Communications, the moment we're in normal space, you broadcast our message on all Council frequencies." A chorus of acknowledgments rippled across the bridge. Emma felt the familiar sensation of fold space beginning to collapse around them, a twisting in her gut that always reminded her of the first time she'd ridden a roller coaster as a child. The view screen showed the stars beginning to slow, individual points of light becoming visible again instead of infinite streaks. Then reality snapped back into place, and they were there, the Zelther system spread out before them in all its terrible beauty. 2 massive stars, one golden and one pale blue, danced around each other in an eternal waltz. Dozens of planets orbited the binary pair, and clustered around the largest gas giant with rings that could swallow. Earth's moon was the Council's fleet, Jackson had been right about the battle carriers. 6 of them hung in orbit like floating cities, each one bristling with weapons platforms and launch bays. Smaller escort vessels swarmed around them like insects, and Emma's tactical display immediately identified 47 distinct ship signatures. "Holy hell!" breathed Lieutenant Sarah Chun from the tactical station. "Commander, I'm counting over 300 individual weapon systems just on the battle carriers alone." "Hold formation," Emma commanded. "Communications, send our message." The communications officer, a young man named Kowalski, nodded sharply. "Broadcasting now?" "Commander." Emma's own voice, pre-recorded, began transmitting across all Galactic Council frequencies. "This is Commander Emma Reeves of the United Earthship Indomitable, representing the sovereign government of Earth and her allied colonies. We have received your ultimatum and have come to deliver our response in person. Earth will not submit. Earth will not pay tribute. Earth will not accept occupation. We come in peace, but we are prepared for war. The choice is yours." For a long moment, nothing happened. The Council fleet maintained its orbital formation. The battle carriers made no move to launch fighters or activate their weapons. Emma could feel the tension on her bridge, rising with each passing second. Then Jackson's console lit up with an incoming transmission. "Commander, we're being hailed. It's from the lead battle carrier, the Endless Dominion. Audio and visual. On screen." The view screen flickered, and suddenly Emma was staring at a face that belonged in nightmares. The Council's Grand Admiral was a Zelthari, a species that resembled nothing so much as an enormous mantis draped in robes of shimmering energy. Its multifaceted eyes reflected the light in 1,000 different colors, and when it spoke, its mandibles clicked together in a rhythm that the translation software rendered into flawless English. "Human Commander," the Grand Admiral said, its voice dripping with contempt. "You have made a grave mistake coming here. Did you truly believe that a single primitive vessel could challenge the might of the Galactic Council? Your arrogance is matched only by your ignorance." Emma stood, clasping her hands behind her back in a posture of absolute confidence she didn't entirely feel. "Grand Admiral, I prefer to think of it as confidence rather than arrogance. You demanded Earth's submission without bothering to learn anything about us. You assumed we would cower before your threats. You were wrong." The Grand Admiral's mandibles clicked faster, a sound Emma's translator helpfully identified as laughter. "Fascinating. You actually believe you have a chance against us? Very well, human. I will give you one opportunity to retreat. Turn your ship around, return to your little world, and tell your leaders that the Council is prepared to show mercy. Refuse, and I will obliterate your vessel and then reduce Earth to a cinder." "You're welcome to try," Emma said quietly. For a moment, the Grand Admiral simply stared at her as if unable to believe what it had just heard. Then it gestured with one of its multiple limbs, and the transmission cut off. "Tactical, what are they doing?" Emma snapped, dropping back into her command chair. Sarah's fingers flew across her console. "The battle carriers are powering up their main weapons arrays. Escort vessels are breaking formation. Looks like they're preparing to surround us. Commander, I'm detecting energy signatures consistent with plasma lance charging sequences. They're going to fire." Jackson turned from his station, his face pale but determined. "Orders, Commander?" Emma's mind raced through the scenarios they drilled endlessly during the journey to Zelthar. The Council expected them to run or to sit there and die. They wouldn't expect aggression. They wouldn't expect Earth to actually fight back. "Lieutenant Torres, execute attack pattern Delta 7. Tactical, target the Endless Dominion's primary weapons array. Fire quantum disruption torpedoes, full spread. All plasma lances, synchronized firing solution. Helm, the moment those torpedoes launch, I want us moving. Make us the hardest target they've ever tried to hit." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as her orders were executed. The Indomitable's torpedo tubes launched their deadly payload 12 quantum disruption warheads that flickered in and out of normal space as they streaked toward their target. Simultaneously, the ship's plasma lance batteries opened fire, sending brilliant beams of superheated matter lancing across the void. And then they were moving. The graviton engines that had seemed like such a gamble during testing proved their worth. The Indomitable didn't just accelerate, it practically teleported, its velocity changing so rapidly that the inertial dampeners screamed in protest. Emma felt herself pressed back into her chair as the ship executed a series of maneuvers that would have been impossible for any Council vessel. The quantum torpedoes struck first. Unlike conventional weapons, they didn't explode on impact. Instead, they phased partially out of reality and detonated inside the Endless Dominion shields, bypassing the energy barriers entirely. Massive explosions blossomed along the battle carrier's hull as armor. Plating was torn away and internal systems were exposed to the void. The plasma lances followed a split second later, their focused beams cutting through the breaches the torpedoes had created. One lance struck something critical, perhaps a power conduit or a weapons capacitor, and a section of the Endless Dominion's superstructure simply ceased to exist in a blinding flash of white light. Direct hit. Sarah shouted over the alarm klaxons that had begun wailing throughout the ship. Their primary weapons array is offline? Secondary explosions cascading through decks 7 through 12. But the Council fleet was already responding. Dozens of escort vessels opened fire, filling the space around the Indomitable with plasma bolts, kinetic projectiles, and energy beams. The ship's metamaterial armor did its job, distributing the incoming damage across its entire surface. But Emma could see the structural integrity readings beginning to drop on her display. "Return fire at will," she ordered. "Don't give them a stationary target. Jackson, keep us moving." The Indomitable danced through the storm of fire like a deadly ballet. Its smaller size and revolutionary engines allowed it to outmaneuver anything the Council threw at it. Emma watched in grim satisfaction as her crew worked with the precision of a well-oiled machine. Plasma lances swept across space, reducing escort vessels to expanding clouds of debris. Quantum torpedoes struck with surgical precision, crippling enemy ships without destroying them entirely. Emma had given strict orders to minimize casualties where possible, but they were still outnumbered 47-1. And the other 5 battle carriers were beginning to move into firing positions. "Commander," Jackson called out, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups from all 5 remaining battle carriers. They're preparing to fire their main batteries. If all 5 hit us simultaneously, our armor won't hold." Emma's mind raced. They'd proven that Earth wouldn't go down without a fight. They'd bloodied the Council's nose and shown that humanity's technology was far more advanced than anyone had suspected. But they couldn't win a prolonged engagement. That had never been the plan. "Tactical," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos of battle. "Prepare a firing solution on the Endless Dominion's command tower. I want every single plasma lance we have pointed at that target. Quantum torpedoes, too. I want to put everything we've got into one shot." Sarah looked up from her console, understanding dawning in her eyes. "Commander, if we fire everything at once, we'll be defenseless for at least 30 seconds while the systems recharge." "I know. But do it anyway." "Aye, Commander." Firing solution locked. All weapons charged and ready. Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of 500 lives resting on her shoulders. 500 souls who had trusted her to bring them through this. She thought of Earth, hanging in space, 3 months' journey away, waiting to hear if they still had a future. She thought of the billions of people who would never know the names of the crew that had fought here today if this went wrong. "Fire," she said. The Indomitable unleashed hell. Every plasma lance, every charge capacitor, every quantum torpedo, all launching in perfect synchronization. The combined firepower was enough to crack a moon. It struck the already damaged Endless Dominion. Like the hammer of an angry god, the battle carrier's command tower simply vanished. The explosion that followed was visible even without magnification, a miniature sun blooming in the darkness of space. Secondary explosions rippled through the massive vessel as power systems overloaded and ammunition stores detonated. Within seconds, the mighty flagship of the Galactic Council's fleet was breaking apart, its hull fracturing along stress lines that had been weakened by the earlier bombardment. The remaining Council vessels froze. Their attack runs aborted as they watched their flagship die. "Open a channel to the Council fleet," Emma ordered, her voice hoarse. "All frequencies." Kowalski worked his console. "Channel open, Commander." Emma stood once more, facing the view screen and knowing that thousands of eyes were watching her. "Grand Admiral Second in Command, I am transmitting the tactical data from this engagement, all vessels in your fleet. Study it carefully. In the past 15 minutes, a single Earth warship has destroyed your flagship and 32 escort vessels while sustaining minimal damage. We did not come here to conquer. We did not come here to subjugate. We came here to prove that Earth is not prey." She paused, letting her words sink in. "The Council's ultimatum is rejected. Earth will never submit to foreign rule, but we are not barbarians. We do not seek war with the Council or any member species. We seek only the same respect and autonomy that you would demand for yourselves. Stand down your fleet and let us discuss terms as equals. Continue this battle, and I promise you that the Indomitable is only the first of its kind. Earth has 30 more just like her currently under construction. It was a bluff. There were only 3 other ships, anywhere near completion, but Emma delivered it with absolute conviction. For a long, tense moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the Council vessels began powering down their weapons. Jackson let out a breath he'd been holding. "Commander, they're standing down. We're receiving a transmission from what's left of the Council command structure. They're requesting a ceasefire and formal negotiations." Emma felt her knees go weak with relief, but she kept her expression neutral. "Accept their transmission. Tactical, maintain battle readiness, but cease offensive operations. Helm, bring us to a defensive position. And somebody get me a direct line to Earth Command. We have a lot to report." As her crew rushed to comply, Emma allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy had believed it ruled power, had believed that might and numbers were all that mattered. They had learned today that humanity had something they lacked: the will to fight for their freedom and the ingenuity to make that fight count. The Indomitable had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the weeks that followed, the Galactic Council and Earth would begin the long process of negotiation. The Council, humbled by their defeat, would offer humanity a seat at their table as equals rather than subjects. Earth would accept, but with conditions. Their sovereignty would be absolute. Their technology would remain their own, and any future disputes would be settled through diplomacy rather than threats. "Commander." Emma Reeves would return to Earth a hero, though she would always insist that the real heroes were the 500 crew members who had trusted her enough to fly into the jaws of death. Lieutenant Jackson Torres would be promoted to commander and given command of the UES Defiant, the second of Earth's new warship class, and the Indomitable would become a symbol not just of Earth's military might, but of the principle that no civilization, no matter how powerful, had the right to enslave another. The galaxy had believed they ruled power, but Earth had shown them that true power came not from the size of your fleet, but from the strength of your conviction. The age of the Galactic Council's unchallenged dominance was over. The age of humanity's place among the stars had just begun.